If you had told me 6 months ago that I'd be sitting in a courthouse lobby with a shoebox full of evidence and a heart 3 sizes too heavy, I would have asked you what brand of whiskey you were sipping and where I could get a bottle. But here we are. It all started with a gift. Not a metaphorical one. An actual, ribbon-wrapped, tissue-stuffed, awkwardly hand-delivered on a Tuesday gift. My wife, Claire, had come home from her quick trip to the store with an extra bag and that suspicious energy she only carried when she was trying to cover up something she hadn't quite figured out how to lie about yet. "It's for you," she said, sliding the gift onto the kitchen island like it was ticking. "For me." I raised an eyebrow. "What's the occasion?" She smiled too wide. "Just because. You've been working so hard lately." Which was true. I had been working hard. Hard enough to notice I hadn't really seen Claire in weeks, except as a blur between yoga classes and family group chats. She'd become one of those people whose phone had its own chair at the dinner table. I untied the ribbon. Inside, a new leather wallet. Monogrammed. Nice. Thoughtful. Out of character. "Hope it fits everything," she said, already halfway down the hall before I could thank her. That's when I noticed the tag still taped to the inside flap. Not from a department store. From a boutique in San Diego. Funny. She told me she was in San Francisco last weekend visiting her aunt. Now, I'm not one to jump to conclusions. I give people the rope. Problem is, sometimes they build gallows with it. Later that night, I did what any rational man fueled by quiet unease would do. I looked at our shared calendar. Nothing unusual. But her phone, left unlocked on the kitchen counter like a trap set for a rabbit, was buzzing with a message preview. "Can't stop thinking about this weekend. Still smells like you. Red heart C." C, as in Claire? Or someone else? I didn't open it. Not yet. I wasn't ready for that brand of pain. But I took a picture of the screen. Something told me I'd need it. Call it instinct. Call it self-preservation. Call it the moment I stopped being a husband and started being a detective. That night, Claire kissed me goodnight like everything was normal. She turned off the light and rolled over. I laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rhythm of her breath like it was Morse code for betrayal. And I knew, whatever I was standing on wasn't solid ground anymore. A few days after the gift, Claire decided we should visit her family for Sunday brunch. Not unusual. Her parents were those overly cheerful, wine-before-noon types who laughed at everything and asked nothing real. But what was unusual, her cousin Devon was there. Now, I'd met Devon before. Once. Briefly. Years ago, at our wedding. Tall guy. Thick hair. Strong jaw. The kind of smile that either belongs on a toothpaste commercial or a mugshot, depending on the angle. "Logan." Claire beamed as we stepped inside. "Guess who's in town for the weekend?" "Oh, hey man," Devon said with that easy grin. "Didn't think you'd be here." "Why wouldn't I be here?" I shook his hand. Firm grip. Too firm. A remember who's dominant grip. Claire watched the handshake like she was measuring the tension with a thermometer. "Devon's just crashing with us tonight," she added quickly, already walking toward the kitchen. "His flight's super early tomorrow." Now, that right there, that should have lit up every red flag factory from here to Nevada. Crashing with us. Without telling me. In our house. In our guest room. Which, coincidentally, was next to our bedroom with the paper-thin walls and the door that always creaked when it wasn't shut all the way. I gave her a look. She gave me one of those "don't start" looks back. So I smiled. Nodded. Played the doting husband while my gut started calculating the odds. Because here's the thing about guys like Devon. They show up right when they're not supposed to. They laugh a little too long. They hold a stare just a hair past appropriate. And Claire? Claire laughed back. Later, while her parents were loading the dishwasher and Devon was pretending to care about a football game on TV, I stepped onto the patio to get some air. That's when her father joined me, wineglass in hand. I was a little too knowing. "You know," he said, swirling the Pinot like it held answers, "Claire and Devon were close growing up. Not just like cousins. More like, well, you know how families can be." I didn't know. And I didn't like the way he said it. "Just saying," he added, "they always had a bond." Spooked her mother a bit when they were younger. I didn't respond. Just stared out at the trimmed hedges and imagined lighting them on fire. When we got home, Claire went to take a bath, and Devon disappeared into the guest room with a beer and a Bluetooth speaker. I sat on the couch. Didn't watch TV. Didn't check my phone. Just stared at the hallway. Listening. Waiting. Around midnight, I heard a door creak. Not ours. Not his. The one in between. That was the moment I knew. I didn't have proof yet, but the way your stomach drops when the plane hits turbulence? That was me. sitting still, heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to escape the truth before I could face it. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because the best lies rot from the inside when you give them silence. And I wanted hers to spoil on its own. The morning after Cousin Devon's little sleepover, Claire was glowing. Not figuratively. She was literally radiant, like a woman who'd just come back from a spiritual retreat or a yoga class where they hand out compliments with the kombucha. She made eggs. Eggs. The woman hadn't cracked an egg in months. I usually ate cereal in silence while she answered emails in her robe. "You sleep all right?" she asked, sliding a plate toward me with the smile of someone who believed they were still the hero of this story. "Like a rock," I said, chewing slowly. "You?" "How cold?" she replied. "Didn't hear a thing." Interesting. I didn't mention that I was up until 3 a.m., watching the hallway from the shadows of the living room like a one-man stakeout. I didn't mention the light I saw under the guest room door flick on at 1:17 a.m., or that I heard two voices, low, muffled, and uncomfortably familiar. I didn't mention that, at 2:08 a.m., I heard a soft laugh. Hers. Instead, I cleared my plate, kissed her cheek, and told her I had errands. But what I really had was a mission. I started in the bathroom. Now, our guest bathroom is mostly ignored, except when we have company. Devon had only stayed one night, but somehow, there were 3 toothbrushes in the holder. 2 cheap ones, blue and green, and 1 electric. Claire and I used the master bath. We didn't keep any in the guest one. And the electric toothbrush? Same brand and model as mine, but not mine. I opened the drawer. Inside, a bottle of cologne. Burberry, Devon's favorite. He'd left it there, comfortably, like he wasn't a guest, like he'd been staying longer than anyone admitted. From there, I checked the trash can. A receipt, torn in half, poking out like it was daring me to finish what I started. A hotel. 4 days ago. In our city. And the name? Devon Hargrove. Paid in cash. But the guest name signed at the bottom? Clare Martin Hargrove. She hyphenated. Hyphenated. I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. Not from shock, but because rage that deep, it doesn't come out in shouts. It comes out in stillness, the kind that makes people back away slowly. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in our bed, next to her, listening to her breathe. And when her phone buzzed at 12:47 a.m., she didn't stir. I picked it up. Unlocked. No hesitation. "Miss you already. You left your hoodie. Smells like me now. Red heart, D." That's when it stopped being a theory and became a fact. Cousin. Affair. Betrayal. Right under my roof. In my guest room. With my wife. I didn't scream. Didn't confront her. Not yet. Because here's the thing. When you find out the knife's already in your back, there's no rush to pull it out. You just start sharpening your own. The funny thing about betrayal is that it doesn't feel like a gunshot. It feels like a paper cut, small, stinging, invisible to everyone else. Until one day, you realize you're covered in them, bleeding from places no one can see. By the time I found that message, "Miss you already. Left your hoodie. Smells like me now, red heart. D." The part of me that once wanted answers was gone. All I wanted was control. Control over the chaos they'd created. Control over my next move. That's when I started stitching. Not metaphorically. I mean really stitching, threading together every little piece of this ugly, frayed mess. I didn't want vengeance. Not yet. What I wanted first was the full tapestry. I needed the story, start to finish. The how, the when, and especially the why. So, I went methodical. Day 1, digital sweep. Claire wasn't tech-savvy. Her idea of security was reusing the same password, our anniversary. I cracked her email in 5 minutes. And it didn't disappoint. There were months of deleted messages between her and Devon. But nothing ever really dies in the cloud. I pulled up every archived thread. They weren't clever. They weren't even romantic. Just crude jokes, late-night confessions, and one-liners like, "Ugh, he's snoring again, and can't believe I married a guy who irons his socks." First of all, yes, I iron my socks. I like structure, literally and figuratively. Second, married a guy who irons his socks? That's what passed for pillow talk. That's when I realized this affair wasn't about passion. It was about contempt. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was bonding with her cousin over the idea of me, mocking me like I was some museum exhibit behind glass. Look at the loyal husband. Look how hard he tries. Isn't it cute? Day 2. Timeline. I checked our shared calendar, her travel itineraries, and every credit card statement from the past 6 months. Patterns jumped out like bruises on pale skin. There were 2 hotels they favored, one by the marina, one tucked behind a 24-hour gym. Low traffic. Discreet. Each time she said she was having wine night with Beth or grabbing dinner with marketing girls, I marked it. They were clockwork. Once every 9 to 11 days. Like a twisted little date night subscription. Once, in late March, she even came home and crawled into bed, whispering, "Missed you today." I remember that night. I had the flu. She brought me soup, tucked me in, kissed my forehead. All while her cousin's cologne was probably still drying on her skin. Day 3, conversations. Now this part stung more than the rest. Not because of what I heard, but what I didn't. I installed an old voice recorder in the vent above the guest bathroom. It was one of those ideas you don't feel proud of, but betrayal doesn't leave room for nobility. I caught her on a call with Devon. "I think he knows," she whispered. He laughed. "So what? He's not going to do anything. He's too nice. Too nice." That's what they saw me as. Furniture. Friendly, dependable furniture. "I'll leave eventually," she added. "I just need to figure out how to split things without him making it weird." I paused the recording. Sat down. That word, eventually. That's how people say never without admitting it. She wasn't planning to leave me. She was planning to drain me emotionally, financially, until she could exit clean. That was the thread I needed. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to let her finish sewing her little betrayal quilt. Then I'd pull one thread and watch it unravel in her hands. That Sunday, I made her breakfast. Eggs, again. Bacon. Toast. Coffee. Set the table just right. Flowers from the yard in a vase. Claire blinked, surprised. "What's this for?" "For you," I said. "Just because." She smiled. That same smile from the wallet gift day. The "I'm already somewhere else" smile. We sat across from each other. She scrolled through her phone. I sipped coffee. "You know," I said, cutting into my toast, "I've been thinking a lot lately." "Yeah," she said, not looking up. "Yeah. About us. About how we got here." She finally met my eyes. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I said, shrugging. "Just seems like we've been drifting." She nodded slowly. "I guess we have. But we're okay, right?" I held her gaze. Calm. Gentle. "Sure. We're okay." And that's when I knew she hadn't even felt guilty. The affair was a math problem to her. Solve for X, eliminate the variables. Keep the house, keep the car, keep the image. I finished breakfast, kissed her on the forehead, and left the room. She thought the story was still hers. But I'd already written the ending. Some men blow up their lives in one furious act. I chose a slower burn. The kind of fire you don't notice until the floorboards are gone and you're ankle-deep in ash. After that Sunday breakfast, I played my role like a pro. Husband. Listener. Clueless fool. Every smile I gave Claire was stitched together with threads of restraint. Because here's the thing about pretending. If you're going to wear a mask, you better commit to the performance. So I committed. I became everything she wanted me to be: more attentive, more helpful, even romantic. Claire didn't know what to do with it at first. That's the thing about people who betray you. They assume you'll shatter. But when you don't, when you thrive in the wake of their lies, it unsettles them. She started hesitating more. Second-guessing. One evening, she actually asked, "You're not suspicious of me, are you?" I smiled. "Of course not." She exhaled. That easy, guilty kind of exhale. The kind you only release when the mask you wear doesn't crack under pressure. The irony didn't miss me. We were both pretending now. But mine had a purpose. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered evidence like it was currency. Devon was still in town for work, according to Claire. She claimed he was staying with friends on the other side of the city. But I knew where he really was: at a rental on Oak Ridge Street. I paid a PI a clean $500 to tail him for 4 days. The guy sent me a zip file of photos and logs. Tuesday, Devon picking Claire up 3 blocks from her yoga class. Thursday, Claire entering the Oak Ridge house in a trench coat, leaving 2 hours later in a hoodie that definitely wasn't hers. Saturday, them grocery shopping together. Grocery shopping. Not even secretive. Not even trying to hide. Like they were auditioning for suburban adultery. Meanwhile, I wasn't just sitting around. I was laying bricks carefully. First, I made quiet withdrawals. Small ones. Moved our savings into a new account under my name. Legal. Traceable. Smart. Second, I bought a digital safe. I put in copies of the PI photos, screenshots of her messages, timestamps, receipts, and an envelope labeled For her lawyer. Third. And this was my favorite. I bought a second phone. Cheap burner. Nothing fancy. Just enough to record calls, forward emails, and store duplicates. I kept it taped beneath my toolbox in the garage. Let me tell you, nothing feels more dangerous than being calm while planning a personal apocalypse. Then came the dress rehearsal. It was a Saturday. Claire had a team-building dinner in the city. She left in a black dress I hadn't seen in months. Her hair curled, her perfume louder than usual. She kissed me on the cheek like she was clocking out. "Don't wait up," she said. I didn't plan to. As soon as the door clicked shut, I called Devon's burner. I'd found the number in her archived emails. And he, being the predictable idiot he was, used the same number for his gym, his food delivery app, and his Uber account. It rang twice before he picked up. Yeah. I didn't speak. Just let silence stretch. Hello. Still nothing. He hung up. I smiled. Just a test. 15 minutes later, I got a text on my burner. New number? Claire. I saved it to the digital safe. Claire got home at 1:38 a.m. I watched from the upstairs hallway window as Devon dropped her off down the street. They hugged. Correction, they lingered. Then she walked in like nothing had happened. I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. She peeled off her heels, tiptoed into the bathroom, and showered. Every step of it, routine. And yet all I could think about was how many times she had done this before. How easily she could return home from someone else's bed and still kiss me like she meant it. When she finally slid into bed beside me, I turned my back to her. She curled into me, like she always had, and whispered, "Love you." And I whispered back, "You too." But what I meant was, you have no idea. Sunday morning came with fake pancakes and fake laughter. I watched her laugh at her phone. Probably Devon again. Probably sending some meme or inside joke about me, the fool in the apron flipping pancakes. She didn't know I'd cloned her cloud. Didn't know I'd printed out every private message, every call log, every little insult. She didn't know I'd spoken to her best friend Jenna, who spilled more than a dropped wine glass. Apparently, Claire had been conflicted for months. Had even complained that I was too stable. Too stable. Imagine being mad that your husband wasn't falling apart enough. I stirred syrup into her coffee. Cream. She nodded. You're spoiling me. You have no idea, I said with a smile. And I meant it. Because I wasn't just stirring syrup anymore. I was stirring the end. And when it came, it wouldn't be a scream. It would be a symphony. They say revenge is best served cold, but I wanted mine surgical, precision over passion. Claire had turned our life into performance art. Fine. I could be the director now. But first, I needed an audience. It started with a group text. Nothing suspicious, just a let's all catch up message to a few mutual friends and family. The excuse? A small dinner next Saturday at our house. Home-cooked meal. Cozy vibe. Claire lit up when I told her. That's perfect, she said. We haven't had people over in forever. You don't say? She offered to handle the wine and dessert. I told her not to worry. I had it covered. What I didn't mention was that the menu wasn't the only thing I'd prepared. The week leading up to the dinner was an Oscar-winning performance on both sides. Claire kissed me longer in the mornings. She laughed at my jokes a little louder. I even caught her humming in the kitchen once. Either she was riding high on the thrill of deception or trying to clear her guilty conscience with domestic charm. Devon, on the other hand, had gone quiet. I hadn't seen him. No new burner messages. No sightings. Which either meant Claire warned him, or he was waiting for his next cameo in the tragicomedy of my marriage. I didn't mind. I had other things to do. First, I updated the digital safe. Then I uploaded everything to a cloud folder labeled Property Appraisal Docs, just in case Claire snooped. Inside, all the dirt. Photos of her entering and exiting Devon's rental. Screenshots of their messages. A copy of her team-building dinner receipt. Only 2 meals ordered. 1 room charged to her card. Even a short voice memo I'd recorded from her last call with Devon, where she said, "Don't worry, he's still totally clueless." I made 2 USB drives with that folder. One went to a safety deposit box downtown. The other? Into a small envelope with Devon's name on it. I tucked that envelope into my desk drawer like a gift waiting to be unwrapped. The night of the dinner, the house was glowing. Candles lit. Jazz playing softly. Dining room set for 8. Claire wore that green dress, the one that used to be for anniversaries, back when we still cared about them. She looked incredible. Beautiful even. But that's the trick about betrayal. It doesn't ruin beauty. It just makes it hollow. Guests started arriving at 7. Friends. A few cousins. Even Jenna showed up, bless her blunt heart, offering to keep things spicy if the night went awkward. I nearly laughed. I waited until everyone had a drink in hand before I made my toast. Fork against glass. Ding, ding. Hey, everyone, I said, smiling warmly. Thanks for coming. Claire and I wanted tonight to be about reconnecting with friends, with family, with truth. Claire turned her head, slightly confused. A tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth. Not enough to panic. Yet, I've been thinking lately, I continued, that marriages, like homes, are built on foundations. And sometimes, you have to check for cracks. A few polite chuckles. Claire's smile was frozen now. I could see it, the fear blooming behind her eyes. She knew me well enough to know I didn't talk like this unless I meant something. I raised my glass. So here's to honesty. And here's to knowing who's really on your team. Everyone drank. Claire did too, eyes darting across the room like she was waiting for the floor to fall through. But nothing happened. Not yet. After dinner, people settled in. I offered coffee and dessert. Claire disappeared to the kitchen, likely to collect herself. Jenna followed her, probably sensing something was off. That's when I made my move. I pulled Devon's envelope from my drawer and walked it out to my car. Slipped it into the glove box. Locked the doors. Just a little insurance policy for later. When I came back inside, Claire was already out on the patio, wine in hand, trying to look relaxed. She glanced at me over her shoulder. What was that toast about? I shrugged. Just talking. She nodded slowly. Right. At 10:13 p.m., most guests had left. Only Jenna remained, lounging with her heels off, sipping tea like she lived there. Claire looked exhausted, but not from hosting. From holding up a lie for so long she was starting to feel the weight of it. You all right? I asked her quietly. Yeah, she said. Just tired. I smiled. Me too. Then I turned to Jenna. Mind sticking around for 10 minutes? Sure, she said, curious. Claire froze. Actually, I continued, I need a woman's opinion on something. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Shoot. I walked over to my desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out a manila folder, same stuff from the cloud, just in hard copy. Claire's face lost color like someone pulled the plug on her circulation. I handed the folder to Jenna. She flipped through the pages. 1, 2, 3. Then she stopped. Oh, she whispered. Claire stood. Logan, what the hell is this? I turned, eyes level with hers. You tell me. She opened her mouth, closed it, then settled for the defense mechanism of the guilty. Indignation. You've been spying on me? Documenting. I corrected. Spying sounds sneaky. This is preservation. Jenna stood awkwardly, glancing between us. I should. No, I said, voice calm. You were her maid of honor. Stay. Hear how the fairy tale ends. Claire's face twisted. This is a complete violation of my privacy. No, I said again. What you did, that was the violation. She didn't respond. She knew she'd lost the high ground. I know about Devon, I said. The hotels, the calls, the messages. I know. She started to cry, right on cue. But there was no heartbreak in it. No remorse. Just exposure. And for the first time in months, I felt nothing but peace. Because now I was done pretending. The morning after the confrontation, Claire moved through the house like a ghost wearing my wife's face. She didn't speak, didn't argue, didn't deny. She just existed. Like a woman sitting in the smoldering remains of a life she lit herself. And me? I made eggs. Same way I always did. I poured her coffee, set it across the table without a word. She didn't touch it. I ate in silence, folded my napkin, and slid a plain white envelope across the table. What's this? She asked. Divorce packet. Uncontested. I left the terms blank so you can feel like you still have a say in something. She didn't even reach for it. Just stared at it like it might explode. You're really doing this? I'm really doing this, I said. And I'm keeping the house. Her eyes snapped to mine. I bought this house, I said before she could speak. I paid for it. I remodeled every corner. You and Devon can get creative somewhere else. She blinked fast. There's nothing going on anymore. Claire, I documented the affair like it was a thesis project, I said flatly. It's not a debate club. It's over. I know it. You know it. Now we just have to close the book. Can't we talk? She whispered. Oh, now you want to talk, I said, pushing back my chair. Where was all this honesty when you were whispering in your cousin's ear? Her head dropped. She didn't speak. So I stood, clocks ticking. And just like that, we were two strangers in a kitchen that used to feel like home. 2 days later, Devon showed up. No call, no text. Just showed up, like we were gonna settle this over beers and handshakes. He parked on the curb like he still had a claim to something here. I opened the door before he could knock. "Logan," he said with a half-smile. "Can we talk?" "No," I said. "But you're here, so go ahead." He shifted awkwardly, hands in his pockets. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." "Oh, is that what you tell women now?" I said. "You seduce them into affairs and then backpedal when the consequences show up?" "It's not like that." "No," I said, stepping closer. "It's exactly like that. You slept with my wife. Your blood. And now you're standing on my porch like you forgot which one of us built this life." He went quiet. "I should break your nose," I added, voice calm. "But I won't." He squinted. "Why not?" "Because you're not worth the cleanup." And I meant it. See, there's a point where anger peaks, and after that, all you're left with is clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I tossed him the envelope with the USB. "That's everything. Pictures, texts, receipts. You might want to make sure your girlfriend doesn't see it. Or your boss. Or your mother." His face went pale. "I'm not going to war with you, Devon. I'm not wasting time. But you will disappear. You'll block her. You'll ghost. You'll move on. Because if I see you again, you won't like what happens next." And for once, he didn't say a word. He just walked away. The coward's retreat. By the end of the month, the divorce papers were signed. Claire cried the whole time. I didn't. She asked to explain. I declined. She said she'd made a mistake. I told her no, she made a choice. And choices have consequences. We sold the car. I kept the house. She moved into a rented condo across town, where I'm sure the walls echoed back everything she didn't want to hear. The friends she thought would take her side? They didn't. People talk. People judge. And betrayal makes a poor dinner topic. Jenna stopped replying to her. Her parents sent me a thank you card for not dragging the family through court. That's the part that stunned her the most. I didn't ruin her. I didn't post screenshots. I didn't destroy her life. I just left her in it. Let her sit in the silence she used to fill with lies. Meanwhile, I repainted the house. Changed the locks. Took a vacation by myself. Bought new sheets. No trace of her remained. Except one thing. A crack in the guest room wall. Small. Barely noticeable. But I left it there. A reminder. Not of the pain, but of the strength it takes to rebuild. You want to know what revenge really is? It's not violence. Not fists. Not shattered glass or loud screaming in driveways. Revenge is waking up peaceful. It's knowing they lost something permanent, and you only lost something that never truly existed. Claire tried to text me on what would have been our anniversary. "Do you ever think about us?" I stared at the message for a minute, then replied, "No." And that was it. I blocked her number. Not out of hatred, but because when a chapter ends, you don't keep rereading the page. These days, I laugh more. I sleep better. I cook for one. And I take long walks without having to wonder who she's texting. You know what I learned? You can survive anything if you don't let it define you. She broke the vows. I broke the cycle. And that's the best revenge there is.